Hey guys, today I'm filming a full face of first impressions video. If you guys have never seen one of these from me before, I'll have my playlist linked up in the cards. I have started doing one of these every month where I am testing out a bunch of makeup products with you guys for the first time, and then at the end of the month in my monthly favorites and product updates, I will give you guys my more finalized thoughts. That way I can hopefully please most people that want to see first impressions and also like to see reviews. And these videos are just so much fun for me to do as well. So I will show you the new products we will be testing out. I have the Too Faced Hangover RX Primer, the Too Faced Born This Way Foundation, and the Too Faced Born This Way Loose Powder. I have one of the Pixi Glowy Gossamer duos, and I have the shade Subtle Sunrise that I'll be testing today. I have swatched this one, but I haven't used it on my face. I have the Anastasia Brow Definer Pencil, and I'm going to be comparing it to the Benefit Goof Proof, which is my favorite. I have the Tarte Tarteist Pro To Go palette. And then on top of those eyeshadows on my lid, I'll be using one of the Pixi Liquid Fairy Lights. This is the shade Rose Gold, and I thought I could compare it to the Stila Glitter and Glow in the shade Rose Gold Retro, one on each eye. And the last item would be the Ofra Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick, and this is the shade Dutchess that was made in collaboration with Nikki Tutorials. So those are all of the new products I'll be using today, and of course I will be using some other products as well to really create my full face, but just jumping in with the primer. With my little foil packet samples, I like to just cut off a corner to get the product out, but it won't dry out as quickly as like ripping off the whole top of the packet. And this primer is really raved about, and of course I do have an oily skin type, but that's why I waited until more of the fall time to test out the primer and the foundation. But I have a bunch of deluxe size samples of this now that I got after I had gotten this foil sample, so we'll see what I think. It does have a really nice light fresh scent, and I'm going to apply this on one side of my face and my standard The Ordinary High Adherence Silicone Primer on the other side of my face, so we can really test how the primer wears and how the foundation wears. So this really just feels like a hydrating moisturizer, and my face is a little bit tacky, which might be nice to help the foundation stick a little better, and it has a really nice light scent. And then taking the Ordinary primer on the other side. This is one that I really enjoy in general as well, but this is my most basic primer where it doesn't blur pores, give a ton of glow, make me matte. So that's why I like using this one for first impressions. This one is just super smooth. But then for the Too Faced Born This Way foundation, I have the shade Snow, which is a little too dark and peachy for me, but unfortunately I don't have a sample of my perfect shade, which would be Swan. I don't have the highest hopes for this foundation. I think it's going to be a little too dewy for me, but I'm excited to see how it looks on the skin and what kind of coverage it has. So I'm going to be applying it on one side of my face with a sponge and the other side with a brush. I'm going to go on the Too Faced primer side with the sponge because that's how I would typically wear my makeup, and then I'll try a brush on the other side. So I'm just going to dot out a bit of this foundation. It seems fairly runny. And yeah, this is definitely a little dark and peachy. So I'm going to be taking the original Beauty Blender. This is clean. It's just stained, which is a little annoying. I'm just going to take the rounded bottom and pounce this into my skin. That was super easy to blend out with the sponge. And I feel like this gave light medium coverage. My skin tone feels more evened out overall, but I am still able to see all of my blemishes, but I am able to see redness and freckling as well, but it looks really pretty. So we'll move on to the brush side and then we'll try to build up. So for my brush, I'll be using the Sigma F80 Flat Top Kabuki brush, and I'm just going to press it into my skin. I am not liking this as much, and usually the brush gives more coverage, but I feel like it's soaking up some of the product maybe, and maybe I applied a little less on this side. That's a possibility as well, but it's blending in smoothly, but it seems to be soaking it up. Look at the coverage difference. I can see so much more redness over here. And I definitely added a decent amount this time, so I need to make sure I do that on the brush side as well. So just blending it out. Like this just blends out so quickly and easily with a sponge, which I really love. That's why I really love sponges. It looks so airbrushed, and with this foundation especially, probably because it is more of a liquidy foundation, a little bit more dewy, it doesn't have any resistance with the sponge. Okay, yes, that was definitely buildable. So look at the difference between 2 layers applied with a sponge versus 1 layer applied with a brush. I'd say this is solid medium leading full coverage. I can see a little redness, a little freckling, but honestly pretty close to full. And this claims to be a undetectable medium to full coverage foundation. And I would say with how it looks right now, freshly applied with a sponge, that's very accurate. I'm impressed. So just pressing this into my skin. I think maybe a little bit more coverage on the sponge side, but the brush side was definitely able to build up as well. So really quick, I'm going to apply my concealer off camera. I'm using the ColourPop No Filter in the shade Fair 4. So now I'll be using the Too Faced Born This Way powder. My friend Jean gifted this to me, and I'm going to try using this to set my under eyes and my face. And same as the Peach Perfect powder, it has that little cap that goes over top of the sifter, which is nice. And this sifter is shaped like a little heart. You guys won't be able to see that. So I'm gonna dump out some of this. I'm hoping this won't be too dark for me, but we will see. So blending out any little creases that might be under my eyes. Then taking the Real Techniques Miracle Mini Eraser Sponge. I'm going to pick up that powder and press it under my eyes. I definitely need more. It doesn't feel completely set, and I like a lot of powder. All right, that feels much better, but I'm wondering if it looks a little yellow. It looks pretty smooth, but I don't know if the color is good for me for under my eyes, but might depend on my concealer shade as well. That was really easy to apply. I love using loose powder, so now I'm going to take a bunch more in the cap, and I will use this to set my entire face. And I'm going to take the side of the Beauty Blender to press that into my skin. Oh yeah, it definitely looked like it darkened up my foundation, which I was aware that might happen because I think Jean told me this one was a little dark for her, which meant it was going to be a little dark for me. But it's blending into my skin really easy, and it doesn't look cakey or dry or heavy. So that's what I really love about loose powder for setting my face. This is what my skin looks like all set. I feel like from far away it looks like I have some great full coverage, but up close it really is more of a really high medium. But I think my skin looks really nice, and as I said, I hope this doesn't oxidize throughout the day. So really quickly off camera, I'm going to do my bronzer, contour, and blush, and I will be back to show you the highlight. So now moving on to highlighter. As I said, I have the Pixi Glowy Gossamer Duo in the shade Subtle Sunrise. I'm going to be using this lightest shade here, which is a little more warm and golden toned, but on the lighter side, so hopefully that one will work for me. And I'm going to try applying it with 2 different brushes to see what works best with this formula. I thought this formula was going to be similar to a ColourPop Super Shock, but when I swatch it, it feels more like a powder, but like a really, really pigmented smooth powder. It's really, really interesting. So I'm going to try first on this side with my typical brush, which is the Morphe M501. So I'm just going to pick up some of that lightest shade. So just running the brush back and forth in there a couple times, able to pick up some of the product. And then just running this on the top of my cheekbones. Ooh, pretty, pretty. Okay, that was able to show up with this brush, which is nice. I wasn't sure if the texture would pick up, but that looks really pretty. So now on the other side, I'm going to be using the Real Techniques setting brush, which has more of that duo fiber. So this works well with more powder type products or more cream type products. So again, just rubbing it back and forth in the highlighter and placing that on my cheeks. Okay, that one worked really well too. So it seems like either brush really would be a good choice. This one might be a little bit more intense, but it could also be that the brush is just a little bigger. So I have highlight on a larger area of my cheek. That gives a really beautiful, intense glow. It is really noticeable in person, so I might need to try to blend out the edges a little bit more, but that looks really, really pretty. So I'm liking the way that my complexion looks right now. So I'm going to zoom you guys in for brows and eyes. So I've already combed out my brows, and as I said, I'm going to be comparing the Anastasia brow definer that I got from the Also 21 Days of Beauty with my favorite angled brow pencil, the Benefit Goof Proof. So I'm going to do the Goof Proof on the side that has the ordinary primer and the Anastasia on the side that has the Too Faced primer. That way this is like full new products and this is new, and then some good old standbys. And I have the shade Taupe, which I'm hoping will be a good match for me. Sometimes Anastasia's brow shades are a little weird, like the blonde color is kind of green, at least it was in the dip brow. And if you guys have not seen, this is what it looks like. It's just an angled brow pencil. It has like a triangle shape. It's a little on the thicker side, but that works well for me because I have larger brows and they're fuller. So we'll just go right in. I'm going to start by trying to line my brow. And if you guys have seen, I'm just filling in. I typically have a really in-depth brow routine. I use a thicker brow pencil and then a more micro one to draw on the front of my brow, and then usually a powder. But just today I'm going to use only the pencils so we can see how those work on their own. But I think that looks nice. I was able to get some good pigment. That does look like a nice shade match for me. And this pencil is not too creamy, which is good. It's not gonna melt and get all over the place, but it wasn't too hard either. Like, that's a good amount of pigment. So I feel pretty happy with that. And then I will go in with my Goof Proof pencil, which has been used quite a bit. So it's still angled, but it isn't as pointy at the end. And I feel like the Benefit is actually a little waxier and I can build it up a little bit, and the Anastasia is a little more creamy and pigmented right away. I can press down a little harder with the Benefit, but not as much with the Anastasia. I think color-wise, the Benefit is looking maybe a little lighter, but also a little bit more red tone. And the Anastasia is a little bit more of a neutral tone. So now that my eyes are all primed and set, I'll be going in with the shadow. So I'm taking the Tarte Tarteist Pro to Go, which is really reflective. Sorry about that, but it is super cute. So I am going to take this light neutral leaning cool tone matte Drive, and I'm gonna use this as my transition color. So I only have a couple Tarte palettes, and I'm not sure if the formula is consistent between them, so I thought it would be nice to try this one out. I was gifted this a while ago from my friend Jean, and I really just haven't given it the proper time, so I wanted to test it out today to see what I think. So this is really nice and pigmented, especially for a lighter shade. I'm just trying to get like a nice wash of color. I just used my Morphe R40 brush. So with all of my powder shadows, I like to set down a cream eyeshadow as a base just to help the powder shadows stick to my lid and be even more vibrant and metallic looking. So I'm gonna do that on one eye but not the other, so we can see how this product performs on its own with just a primer. And the eye base I will be using is the Balm Batter Up Shadow Stick in the shade Curveball, which is a light coppery color. And I'm just going to draw this right on the lid. So I'm going to take this coppery bronze color Boss, and I'm going to pack it on my lid with my MAC 239 flat shade brush. I will start first on the side that has the cream base. And yeah, this is definitely looking more bronze on my brush. I was hoping this would be a little bit more copper, but that's okay. Pretty. I just picked up a second layer of this and I'm just pressing it right on top of the base So that is really pigmented and has a really nice amount of sheen to it as well. So now going on the side where I only have the primer, doing the same method, just trying to press on the lid. I did just go back in to get a little bit more product. I did just pick up a third layer. So here what the eyes look like with a cream base and without. I feel like you can tell how intense and vibrant it is with the cream base, and that's not to say that this is a bad shadow, because as I said, I do that with all of my shadows and it really makes such a big difference. So I just love showing that to you guys in these videos. And I think it's more fair for me to test a product out with a cream shadow because that's my norm, so I can tell if it's good or not. So for my crease and outer corner, I'm going in with this matte warm tone color Crisp, and I am going to apply that with my Morphe R39 brush. There is a really, really dark brown in here, but that's not a color that I see myself using. I just don't go that deep. So that's nice. That looks really pigmented and it's blending out really nicely. Ooh, yes, I like this color. And I don't know if you guys will be able to see it on the camera. I am getting a good amount of kick up in the pan, but that's not a big deal to me, and I don't have a ton of fallout in my face. So this is just a little bit more of a powdery formula, but that's what makes it so pigmented. It's hard to have one of those things without the other. But yeah, like this eye just looks so much more intense and more polished. This looks like, you know, I took a nap or rubbed my eye. So far, mattes are really good. Shimmers, not my favorite, but over base, it looks fantastic. So as long as it wears well, I'll be happy with that. Oh my gosh, this freaking hair. Also, these eyeshadows do smell like cocoa powder, which is kind of nice. So now going in with my liquid shadows, that's why I'm not worried about the lid shade too much. I'm gonna go on this side where I applied the Too Faced primer with the Pixi Liquid Fairy Lights. This is in the shade Rose Gold. And then on my other eye, the side of my face where I use the ordinary primer, I'll be using the Stila Glitter and Glow in Rose Gold Retro. These aren't exactly the same, but they are close. So I wanted to see how they perform and how they look. And I will be honest, I haven't used my Stila glitters as much as I probably should, but I'm excited to see how these two perform side by side. And I didn't want to do a whole video comparing these two products, so I thought it would be nice to do that today. So I am just going to tap it on my lid. I don't really want to swipe it on. I'm afraid of it lifting up my shadow underneath. But that gives a lot of glitter. Ooh la la, that looks very pretty. So I'm going to keep my eye closed to give that a time to set, because I do not want that to transfer up into my crease. Taking the Rose Gold Retro on my other eye. And this one I actually did sweep it. This has more of a creamy base slightly than the Pixi one did. So I just swiped it on like a liquid shadow, but what do you guys think? How do they look? I'm gonna keep my eyes closed for this portion, but I think that these both look very similar. They both have that cooling feel. They both have a ton of glitter, a ton of metallic sheen. I think that both of these shades do have a nice base pigment to them. Now, some of the lighter shades from the Pixi line are a little bit more sheer with glitter pieces, but from what I've tried from the Stila, these all seem to have more of an opaque base. But still, they both look the same amount of opacity on the eye. Of course, I did put these over a powder shadow. Maybe when they're on their own, you'll be able to notice more of a difference, but I'll swatch them on my hand really quick so we can see that. So here's a swatch of the Pixi versus a swatch of the Stila. The colors are not exactly the same, but also I definitely feel like the Stila has a lot more of a pigmented base, and the Pixi is a little bit sheer. But it does still have a good amount of pigment to it, a lot of glitter in it as well, and it looks just as impressive on my lid right now. This hair, I'm about to cut it off. So for lips, I'm going to be applying a lip liner just because I want to create a map where I can fill it in with the liquid lipstick. So I'm going to be using the ColourPop Lippy Pencil in the shade Razor, which was unfortunately limited edition, but it's a really beautiful cool tone mauve. So the lipstick I'm testing for the first time today is the Ofra Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick. This is the shade Dutchess. My friend Jean sent this to me a while ago as well. I'm really excited to try this color in this formula because so many people swear by this formula. It's their favorite liquid lipstick formula ever, so I am excited to see what I think of it. And now Ulta sells these as well, which is nice. This looks really pretty, a little deeper than it looks in the tube, but that's what happens to me with most liquid lipsticks, and it could also be because of my lip liner, so I'll try this again with another lip liner, see if it looks as deep, but it's really pretty. I think it goes well with this makeup. It's nice and fall. It feels very smooth. I'm going to give it a little bit to dry down, see if it transfers. And this is a really moussey formula, and this does have a nice light vanilla scent, which I enjoy, so we will see if this is transfer proof. Yeah, definitely not transfer proof at all, but it didn't really remove any product from my lips, which is nice, but maybe I didn't give this enough time to set down. So I'm back to give you my update for the day on these products. It is 4:45 p.m. so I've had these products on for a little over 4 hours. I would love to give you this update much later in the day, but my husband and his friends who are in town for his birthday are out at the mall, so I want to take the opportunity to show you how this has worn so far, and then I will give you my more finalized thoughts at the end of the month. So jumping into the products, I think my skin is looking very greasy overall, which is a bit of a bummer, and the primer, foundation, and powder that I use are really geared more towards dry or normal skin types, so I knew they wouldn't be best for my very oily skin. And because I really use them all together, I'm not quite sure which product gave me that most dewy factor, and maybe it's just all three of them together. So I'll definitely test them all individually with some of my other matte products and see what I think of them. And I do have to say that on the side where I applied the Too Faced Hangover RX primer, and then on the Ordinary side, I think that they both look equally greasy. So that is very interesting to note. So I am super greasy overall. I have not touched up yet. I can just feel the grease on my skin, which is a little gross. It feels like the foundation has really bunched up around my nose, and it has really worn off my chin, which is a bit of a bummer for it only being 4 hours. But to give you my thoughts so far on the individual products, the Too Faced Hangover RX primer I think was really nice and moisturizing without making me feel too overly hydrated or greasy. It also was a little tacky, which may have helped the foundation cling to the skin better. Then I had the Too Faced Born This Way foundation in the shade Snow. It definitely was a little dark and peachy, but I don't think that it has oxidized at all, which is fantastic. This foundation is such a thin consistency. I went ahead and put it in this little sample jar because it was making an absolute mess. Dang, it looks so peachy in the container. I'm surprised how much I like this foundation. I love really thin consistencies. I find them super easy to work with. I think this foundation applies best with a sponge, and with 2 layers applied with the sponge, I was able to get a very solid high medium coverage, which I think is really impressive. I think it looks beautiful on the skin. It just isn't made for my skin type and isn't wearing the best. I would love to try this foundation with the Too Faced Peak Perfect Mattifying Powder. Unfortunately, I'm out of that right now, but I would be interested to see how that combo works out. I might be able to get a nice, like, healthy looking skin without being too greasy, so I'll definitely try that in the future. Then I had the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Setting Powder. I use this under my eyes and to set my face. My under eyes feel really set, but they don't look too dry or anything. It did a really nice job of setting my face overall, so I am really enjoying this powder. Now, I don't see so far that it has any extra benefits besides setting my skin. Then we have the Pixi Beauty Highlighter. It looks just as intense as it did before, and I was trying to look up in the mirror close to see if this really emphasizes texture, and I don't think so. The mirror in our bathroom and the lighting in there is actually really good, so I'm able to see all the texture on my skin anyway. I don't think this highlighter is really emphasizing it anymore, and I was really impressed with this texture. It's very interesting. They also have 2 different duos if there is a color you might prefer better, but I think it looks really pretty on the skin. So far I am quite enjoying this. I will test out both of the colors by the end of the month to let you know my thoughts on that. Then we have the Anastasia Brow Definer Pencil in the shade Taupe. If you remember, I used the Benefit Goof Proof on this brow and the Anastasia on this brow. I think I like the Anastasia appearance better so far. I'm just using it on its own. I think it gave more pigment, and I do like this color. It's a little bit more neutral tone, where the Benefit is a little warmer, but I don't mind either way. I think this looks really good. I'm very impressed so far, but I will definitely insert this into my typical brow pencil routine to see if I like the finish look better. So for shadows, I use the Tarte Tarteist Pro to Go palette, which has 3 shimmers and 3 mattes. You have a shimmery gold, shimmery coppery bronze, shimmery cranberry color. And then for the 3 mattes, you have a light tan, a medium warmy orange brown, and then this dark brown shade here. I think that these shades did perform really well. The mattes were very pigmented. They blended out nicely. The shimmers had a nice amount of pigment to them as well, but they definitely perform better over a cream base, which is typical for all powder shadows for me. But I did find that when I used it on its own, the shimmer looked very dull. It wasn't very shimmery or very pigmented, so that's a bit of a bummer for me. I think that those shades in particular need a sticky base. However, when I do use them with the base, I think these create beautiful looks. They were really easy to work with. They're pretty shades. However, I'm sure that we all have these shades in our collection. This is definitely not a necessity for me. I think this would be a really great travel palette, or if you're wanting a really quick go-to eyeshadow look, this would be nice. And it's a good formula. I just have similar products, so not a must-have, but a good item. Then I have the Pixi Liquid Fairy Lights in the shade Rose Gold. Again, I have the Pixi on this eye and the Stila on this eye. I think they look really, really similar. The Stila definitely has more of an intense base pigment, but I think that the Pixi might even have a little bit more glitter. I think it just looks a little bit more glittery, but I did not have any fallout on my face, which is amazing. But I definitely think with these type of glitter liquid eyeshadows, you need to do all of your other shadow first and then apply this before liner and mascara. And of course, I did not apply liquid liner today, but I definitely will, to see if that would make this product crumble or the liquid liner wouldn't go nicely over top. I'll keep you posted on that, but I'm loving this. Super easy to apply. It doesn't look patchy. It didn't seem to lift up my shadow, and it just added the most beautiful touch to make this shadow even more fun. So really, really enjoying this so far. I think this is really, really a good quality, so I would recommend that. Then lastly, we have the lip color. So this did completely wear off after I ate. I had some really greasy french fries and a grilled cheese, so I reapplied it right before this video, and I did not use a lip liner this time, so you can see how this looks on its own. So it definitely dries down to be much darker than you see in the tube, which is a bummer, but that's very typical with liquid lipsticks. And it's still a bummer for me though, because I fall in love with the color in the tube, but I do think this looks really, really pretty on the lips. Definitely something I can see myself reaching for in the winter time. So as I showed you guys, right after I applied it, I did have a good bit of transfer on the back of my hand. But as I wore it longer and tried to do the little transfer test, I was able to get some product on my hand, but it wasn't like a full-on lip print like before. But I will try it right now, see how it looks. So I do have a decent amount of transfer on my hand right now, but I feel like the more it wears, the less it transfers, and it does not feel sticky whatsoever. It isn't dry or uncomfortable. I really like this formula. It was easy to apply. It feels really comfortable on my lips, and I would definitely think about trying some more shades from this line. I'm really, really happy with the formula of that one. So guys, those are all of my final thoughts for today on the products I have tested. Make sure you check out my October favorites and product updates to hear my final thoughts on all of these items. I would love to know your thoughts if you guys have tried these out in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.